Hi. Goods and Services Tax, or GST as it is popularly known, is the newest tax system which has come into existence in India from 1st July 2017. GST became a law after going through a number of hurdles. It has also taken a prolonged period of time to come through. Since it is a revolutionary tax system for a country like India, everyone, especially those who are in business, are interested to know more about it. Now, this is a simple and informative course on GST. It covers only the registration process that a taxpayer undergoes to get registered with this new tax system. It mainly covers the requirements and the process of GST registration. I am an online tutor. I work from home. I have been following the progress of this new tax system since the last 1 year. I hope this course will help you in understanding GST and the process of registering from a layman's perspective. Before touching on the topic of GST, let me explain very briefly about the indirect tax system that we had in the country until GST's arrival. In fact, this explanation will give you an idea about the revolutionary changes that GST is bringing into the tax management system of our country. Ever since independence, India has been following a two-layer structure of indirect tax collection in the country. But in effect, it was a three-layer structure. Let me explain. When you take into account the taxes levied by local bodies, that is municipalities and municipal corporations, along with central government and the taxes levied by the state government, it becomes a three-layered structure. So, businesses either manufacturing or be it services were liable to pay taxes to the union government, the central government, and the local bodies like municipalities, because all of these bodies had the independence to collect taxes. In practice, there were a number of flaws in the old tax system. The primary cause of most of these flaws was the control of multiple authorities over taxation on a single business entity. Multiple authorities being the central, state, and local governments, as I had explained just now. Now, let me list out a few of these flaws for you. In the old tax structure, there were about 17 laws that existed over indirect taxation, including the central state governments, and they affected the sale and taxing of a product or a service one way or the other. If not all, every SSC had to deal with many of these multiple tax authorities, which included filing of returns and annual reports and interacting with officers related to these laws. This situation at times made it very difficult for an SSC to attend to all the demands of these multiple tax authorities. On account of multiple tax authorities, at many instances, a product or a service was subjected to multiple taxation as they fell under different laws. For example, states used to charge VAT on the excise duty paid by a manufacturer to the central government. So there was tax levied on tax of a product. Another imperfection of the old system was that the SENVAT structure did not allow value addition post the stage of production. One more flaw was that the interstate transport of goods were taxed with no provision of input credit to buyers. And understandably, the purchase value of products varied from state to state as the taxation rates varied from state to state for the same goods. To quote an example, VAT on mobile was 5% in Delhi and 14% in Maharashtra. Again, there were variations in threshold limits under different laws that existed. And to quote an example, Under the Central Excise Act, the threshold limit for small manufacturers was set at rupees 1.5 crores, but under the Service Tax Act, the limit was only rupees 10 lakhs. These are but a few of deficiencies of the tax structure we used to have in the country prior to the introduction of GST. To give you a count of multiple tax laws that existed and the confusion and hardships it created for businesses, you should realize that there were many different types of taxes that an SSE had to deal with at the central, state, and local level administration. As I said earlier, it was not only about paying taxes to these multiple authorities, but keeping different books of accounts, filing different sets of returns, and keeping in pace with the procedural and legal demands of these multiple authorities. The bright side of the newly introduced Goods and Services Tax, that is the GST, is that it will resolve many of these issues for the taxpayers. This can happen because the indirect tax structure of the whole country comes under one tax under this new law. All of the central and state taxes are now amalgamated and the taxes of center are subsumed in CGST, that is Central GST, and the taxes of states are subsumed in SGST, that is State GST. As I said earlier, GST is thus the biggest ever indirect tax reform happening in India since independence. GST is clearly a long-term strategy. There is no doubt on that. This new tax structure would lead to a lot of simplification in the tax collection and payment process. It will generate a higher output for industries and bring bigger tax revenue for both central and state governments over a period of time. It will bring many industries that are in informal sector today to formal sector. Moreover, it will create more employment opportunities and economic inclusion. But let me also add that in the initial stages, it is likely to cause some hiccups in getting the process implemented, and it may cause high inflation rates as some experts suggest, and definitely high administrative costs for its implementation. With that, let me conclude this lecture here. I shall continue in the next lecture on our discussion on GST. That's all for now. See you on the other side. Thank you. Have a nice day.